For the remainder of ladies and gentlemen, achievers and dreamers, listen closely. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not filled with luck, talent, or inspiration. It is filled with consistency, not bursts of passion, not random acts of effort, but the daily discipline of showing up over and over again, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. Most people drift through life waiting for the right time for the remainder of your life, the perfect opportunity or someone to validate their dreams. But the truth is, success begins the moment you decide who you are and act on it with conviction. For the remainder of your life, don't wait for clarity to strike like lightning. Choose who you want to become and then align your actions with that decision every single day. For the world doesn't hand over rewards to the indecisive. It gives power, influence, and results to those who show up with consistency of character for remainder life, regardless of whether they feel ready or not. Every day you lay, the identity you desire slips further from reach. For the remainder of character is not shaped in grand moments, but in the quiet repetition of aligned action. You become what you consistently do, not what you intend, what you wish for, but what you practice. The person who wakes up and acts like a leader, trains like a champion, or works like a visionary, even before results show up, eventually becomes one. For the repetition of identity-driven action is what separates the successful from the spectators. Success is not reserved for the most talented for the remainder of your life. It is reserved for those who are relentless in becoming who they say they are. Identity without action is fantasy, but identity combined with consistency is a force that bends the world in your favor. When you begin acting like the person you want to become, for the world starts responding to you in kind, opportunities appear, people trust you more, and results begin to compound. That's not magic. That's alignment. Understand this. Scattered effort produces scattered results. You can't be one person on Monday, another on Thursday, and someone else entirely by the weekend and expect greatness to arrive. Consistency of character builds credibility, not just in the eyes of others, but within yourself. Every time you act in alignment with your chosen identity, you build trust in your own word. And self-trust is the fuel that carries you through storms, setbacks, and silence. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. It means showing up when the mood is gone, when no one's watching, when nothing seems to be working. You do it not for applause, not for short-term gain, but because it's who you are. That's the power of identity fused with daily discipline. It doesn't rely on motivation. It runs on principle. So don't wait for permission. Don't beg for clarity. Make the decision now. Who do you choose to be? Then act like it until the world can't remember you or ever anything else. For the remainder of life, that's how success is forced into your life. In the pursuit of success, many fall into the trap of endlessly seeking more information, more advice, more strategies, believing that the next book, the next video, or the next course will finally unlock their potential. But knowledge without execution is nothing more than intellectual entertainment. The truth is, for the remainder of your life, most people already know what they need to do. They're just not doing it. Implementation is what separates the dreamers from the doors, the students from the masters. Action is the bridge between desire and achievement, and it must be crossed daily. A simple plan, executed with relentless consistency, for the remainder of your life will outperform the most brilliant blueprint that never sees the light of day. It doesn't matter how grand your vision is if you don't move toward it. For the end of your life, the individual who gets up each morning and takes small steps toward their goal is far more powerful than the one who waits for everything to be perfect before taking the first step. Perfectionism often masks fear. Fear of failure of judgment, fear of not being good enough. But progress belongs to those who move forward anyway, flaws and all. Waiting for the perfect moment is the greatest lie success will ever tell you. There is no perfect time, no flawless starting point, no ideal condition. There is only now, this moment, and what you choose to do with it. The man who takes action today, even if it's messy, even if it's uncertain, is already lapping the one who is still sitting on the sidelines, perfecting his plan. Momentum is built through movement, not thought. You learn more by doing than by theorizing. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of planning and preparing, convincing yourself that you're making progress, when in reality you're just postponing the work. The only way to truly know if your plan works is to put it into motion. Course correction is part of the journey. but you can't correct what hasn't started. Take action for the remainder of your life, get feedback, refine, and move again. That's the rhythm of real growth. That's how success unfolds. Not in a straight line, but in a consistent, forward moving loop of action and adjustment. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can achieve in a year of daily focused action. A simple plan, when executed daily, builds compound results. What begins as small effort becomes momentum. That momentum becomes confidence. For the remainder of life, show me your habits and I'll show your destiny. That isn't just a clever phrase. It's a fundamental truth. Every day, with every action you repeat, for the remainder, you're carving out the trajectory of your life. You don't wake up one day and become successful, disciplined, or confident. For those qualities are built gradually through the habits you perform consistently, often without thinking. Whether you realize it or not, your habits are the architects of your future. For the remainder of your life, they are either quietly building the life you want or silently constructing the regret you'll carry. What makes habits so powerful is not their individual strength, but their compounded effect over time. A single healthy meal won't change your life, just like a single workout won't sculpt your body. But 1,000 of those actions, repeated over months and years, absolutely will. The same applies in reverse. One missed deadline, one ignored task, one excuse seems harmless in the moment. But when repeated, those small slips become the foundation of failure, of your life. The small things done consistently are never small. They are the seeds of everything to come. The danger lies in how quietly habits work. You don't feel the results immediately. There's no instant reward or punishment, so people dismiss them, but habits are always at work. In the background, shaping your thoughts, guiding your actions, and eventually defining your identity. And once your identity is formed, it becomes your compass. The person who repeatedly wakes up early begins to see himself as someone disciplined. For the remainder of life, the person who always pushes through difficulty becomes someone who finishes what they start. Identity emerges from action, and action is driven by habit. This is why you must choose your habits with great intention. Don't let them form by accident. Don't fall into behaviors just because they're easy or familiar. Ask yourself, does this habit serve the person I want to become? If the answer is no, then it must be replaced, not reasoned with. You are not a victim of your habits. You are their creator for the remainder of your life. And if you created them, you have the power to change them. But it won't happen through wishful thinking. For the remainder of life, if you only act when you feel like it, your life will be ruled by your emotions. And emotions are the most unreliable guides you can follow. They fluctuate by the hour. One moment, you're motivated, the next you're discouraged. If your actions depend on your mood, your results will reflect that inconsistency. Some days you'll make progress, but most days you'll retreat, hesitate, or stand still, and over time that hesitation compounds into regret. Greatness is never built on moods. It's built on movement, especially when it's hardest to do so. The people who rise above average are not those who always feel inspired or full of energy. For their life, they're the ones who act regardless of how they feel. They don't ask themselves if they're in the mood to show up. They just show up. They don't rely on motivation, for they rely on a deeper commitment, a decision made in advance, not up for debate every morning. That commitment is what turns discipline into a way of life. When you make movement non-negotiable, you free yourself from the trap of emotional permission. When your life is run by principle instead of impulse, everything changes. You stop needing to be in the perfect mood, have the ideal environment, or feel completely ready. You act because it's who you are, not because the conditions are perfect. You move because your mission demands it, not because you feel like it. And ironically, by doing so, your emotions begin to align with your discipline. If you feel better because you're keeping promises to yourself, confidence grows, momentum builds, doubt fades. For the remainder of your life, most people never realize how much of their potential is wasted waiting for motivation to return. For the remainder of your life, they don't see that the discipline they resist is the very thing that would give them the freedom they crave. By acting only when it's easy, for the remainder of your life, they stay cycle of inconsistency, never able to generate the results they truly want. But those who learn to act in the absence of motivation develop a rare kind of power, the power to push through, to persist, to progress while others stall for the remainder of life. That's what separates the uncommon from the ordinary. When you build your schedule around emotion, most people believe success comes from massive effort, a sudden burst of energy, a 10-hour sprint, an all-nighter to catch up. But that kind of intensity, while impressive in the moment, rarely lasts. It burns bright and fast and then dies out just as quickly. Real progress isn't built on those flashes of motivation. It's built on quiet, consistent effort. 1 hour a day, 10 days in a row, will always take you farther than 10 hours, once followed by 10 days of nothing. For the remainder of your life, success doesn't reward how hard you work once. It rewards how long you're willing to stay in the game. Consistency is the great equalizer. It closes the gap between talent and mediocrity, between advantage and struggle. You don't have to be the smartest, fastest, or most connected person in the room. But if you are the most consistent, you become dangerous. Because when others stop, you continue. When they get bored, you stay focused. When they need inspiration, you rely on discipline. Over time, that consistency compounds. The small actions you take every day may seem insignificant now, but they are slowly shaping the future you claim to want. Think of a flame. A firestorm may grab attention, but it also burns out and leaves destruction. A steady flame, however, provides warmth, direction, and light without burning out. The quiet, steady flame of daily effort builds endurance, patience, and momentum. Those are the things that fuel lasting success. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's powerful. And while others burn out chasing fast results, your steady flame keeps moving forward, slowly, surely, and without fail. What most people lack isn't passion, it's endurance. They start strong but don't finish. They want results quickly and give up when they don't appear right away. But the person who understands the power of showing up daily, regardless of mood, outcome, or recognition, eventually outpaces everyone else. Because while others are waiting to feel motivated again, you're already 5 steps ahead, fueled by nothing more than consistency and conviction. So let others chase intensity. Let them search for shortcuts and breakthroughs. You, on the other hand, master the art of repetition. Show up every day, light your flame, and keep it burning. For the real life, the results might come slowly, but they will come. And when they do, they won't be a lucky accident. They'll be the inevitable result of all the quiet. For the remainder of life, consistent effort, refuse to stop giving. For the remainder of your life, discipline is nothing you're born with. It's not a gift that some people have and others don't. It's a muscle, one that anyone can build, but only if they're willing to face resistance. And just like with any muscle, growth doesn't happen through comfort. It happens through pressure, repetition, and effort when it would be easier to quit. The mistake most people make is waiting to feel disciplined. But discipline isn't a feeling. It's a decision, repeated often enough that it becomes automatic. You don't become disciplined by thinking about it. You become disciplined by doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. The first time you push yourself to act when you'd rather stay still, it feels uncomfortable. The second time, it still does. But the third, for the remainder of your life, the 10th, the 100th, starts to become a part of you. What once took enormous effort starts to feel natural the remainder of your life, and that's the moment the shift happens. Not when the task gets easier, but when not doing it feels out of character. That's the reward for forcing yourself through the early resistance. The action that once felt forced becomes part of your identity. It becomes who you are. This process doesn't happen overnight. It requires deliberate repetition, doing a thing again and again until your system, not your mood, takes over. At first, every step requires thought and willpower. But eventually, you build something stronger than willpower habit. You don't wake up and question whether you'll do it. You just do it because you've trained your mind to obey a higher standard, not your passing feelings. In time, your default becomes action. Your comfort zone expands. And the resistance you once dreaded becomes the signal that growth is near. But none of that happens unless you force it in the beginning. For the remainder of your life, you have to be willing to show up before it feels natural. You have to act while it still feels awkward. For the remainder of life, that's how the muscle of discipline is built, through repetition under discomfort. And like all muscles, it gets stronger with use. For the more you force yourself to push through resistance, the more capable and confident you become. Remainder of your life, you start to see that your limits were never fixed. They were just untrained areas of your life waiting for pressure. Eventually, you reach a place where doing the hard thing becomes normal. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. You stopped needing motivation and started relying on identity. You no longer need to be reminded to show up. It would feel strange not to. And that is the ultimate power of discipline, not just doing what others won't for the remainder of your life, but doing it so consistently that you become the person who simply doesn't stop. Every expert you admire today, no matter how confident or polished they seem, started at the very beginning, unsure, unskilled, and often unnoticed. What separates them from those who never made it isn't talent or luck, it's the refusal to quit. They face the same doubts, the same discomfort. For the remainder of your life, the same voice in their head saying, "You're not good enough." But instead of giving in, they kept going. Day after day, they showed up. For the remainder of your life, they didn't need to see instant results to keep moving. They understood that progress is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Mastery is not the result of a single breakthrough moment. It's the reward for consistency through obscurity. The early stages are the hardest. When your effort feels wasted or your progress feels slow and no one's watching, that's when most people vanish. They try for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and when nothing seems to change, they disappear. But the few who push through that silence, who keep showing up even no one claps, begin to build something unshakable. Repetition, not brilliance, is what creates greatness. For the remainder of your life, showing up consistently when you're not getting recognition, feedback, or praise is what builds internal strength. It separates those who are merely interested from those who are committed. Interest fades when things get hard. Commitment stays. And those who stay gain something rare, endurance. For the remainder of your life, they become mentally tougher, emotionally steadier, and more capable of handling challenges that would break the average person. For the remainder of your life, that's how you move from being just another beginner to someone who cannot be ignored. When you keep showing up, even when you feel like a fraud or a failure, something powerful happens in your skills to catch up with your vision. The gap between where you are and you want to be begins to close. Not because of sudden transformation, but because of steady evolution. The awkward turns into confident. The confused becomes clear. The weak becomes strong. That's not inspiration, that's work. Quiet. For the remainder of life, a disciplined work that compounds in the background until suddenly others start calling you an overnight success. Most people don't fail because they don't have what it takes. They fail because they stop before what it takes has time to work. They underestimate how long the beginning phase lasts. They assume early struggle means they're not meant for it. But struggle is the price of entry. It's the test that weeds out the casual from the committed. And if you can outlast the discomfort, if you can keep showing up while others walk away, you gain access to levels of success most never reach. Not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't. So whatever path you're on, writing, building, learning, leading, remember this: every master was once embarrassed by their own early efforts. Every pro once wanted to quit. The only difference is they didn't. They stayed. They returned again until the world had no choice but to notice. And that can be you if you remain willing to do what most won't, to keep showing up long after the novelty fades, long after the applause stops, and long before the rewards begin. That's how mastery is born. Spinning your wheels gives the illusion of movement, but in reality, you're going nowhere. It feels like you're busy, feels like you're doing something important, answering emails, making lists, attending meetings, tinkering with ideas, but none of it leads to meaningful progress. This is one of the most dangerous traps for anyone pursuing success, mistaking activity for achievement. Just because you're in motion doesn't mean you're advancing. Just because your schedule is full doesn't mean your goals are getting closer. If your energy isn't focused on what actually drives results, then you're wasting time, no matter how busy you feel. Many people exhaust themselves doing things that make them look productive without ever confronting the hard, essential work that actually matters. They'll spend hours perfecting a logo before they've created a product, tweaking a website instead of reaching out to customers, studying strategies instead of implementing a single step. These things might offer comfort, might give a temporary sense of control, but they don't move the needle. Progress is uncomfortable. It requires direct action, doing the things that carry risk, demand effort, and bring results. If your daily work isn't tied directly to your end goal, it's a distraction, not a step forward. Success requires clarity, not just about what you want, but about what actually creates value in your life or work. That means identifying your highest impact tasks and repeating them, even when they're difficult or tedious. It's easy to fall into the habit of doing what feels urgent or what gets quick feedback, but urgency isn't the same as importance. Some of the most valuable actions don't give instant gratification. They may feel invisible at first, but done consistently, they build momentum. It's your job to spot these actions, prioritize them, and commit to them without getting distracted by the noise. To move forward, you must be willing to ruthlessly cut away the tasks that don't matter, even if they're comfortable, even if they make you feel accomplished. Every minute spent on the wrong thing is a minute taken away from the right one. Consistency only works if it's applied in the right direction. If you're consistent at doing the wrong things, you're not getting closer to success. You're just getting better at staying stuck. The hardest part is not staying busy. The hardest part is being honest with yourself about whether your business is building your future or just helping you avoid what matters. You owe it to yourself to stop spinning in circles and start moving with intention. Let go of the need to appear productive and instead focus on being effective. Choose the actions that count, the ones that stretch you, challenge you, and build something real. When you align your consistency with purposeful direction, every step you take compounds. That's when progress becomes inevitable. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing what matters most and doing it relentlessly. Trust is not built on charm, talent, or good intentions. It's built on reliability. People don't remember what you say as much as they remember whether you show up when it matters. If you want others to trust you, believe in you, or follow your lead, you must become predictable in the best way possible. That means doing what you say you'll do, being where you said you'd be, and delivering what you promised. Not once or twice, but every single time. Trust grows in the soil of consistency. Without it, even the most talented person becomes a gamble. In any group, whether it's a team, a business, or a family, the one who can be counted on rises naturally to the top. People crave stability. They gravitate toward those who bring order, not chaos, those who follow through, not just talk big. Talent might inspire people for a moment, but dependability earns their loyalty for a lifetime. No one wants to follow someone who shows up strong one day and disappears the next. They want a steady hand, someone who doesn't just perform when it's convenient, but commits even when it's hard. Leadership in its purest form is built on consistency. You don't lead by making grand gestures once in a while. You lead by showing up day after day with the same level of focus, integrity, and follow through. When people see that you're the same person under pressure as you are in comfort, that you make decisions based on principle instead of emotion, they start to trust your direction. They feel safe moving forward with you because you've proven that you won't flinch, won't disappear, and won't break your word when things get hard. Being dependable is not about being perfect. It's about being stable. It's about becoming the person others don't have to second guess. In a world where people are overwhelmed by broken promises, shifting moods, and unreliable intentions, consistency becomes your superpower. It communicates strength without arrogance, maturity without words, and over time, your reputation builds itself. You don't have to convince people to follow you. They will choose to because your actions speak louder than anything else. If you want trust, earn it through discipline. If you want influence, win it through consistency. Show up, follow through, repeat, even when it's boring, even when no one claps. Because in the end, people don't follow the flashiest or the loudest. They follow the one they can count on. The one who's still there, still standing, still doing the work long after the excitement fades. That kind of consistency doesn't just build trust, it builds legacy. When you rely solely on willpower, you set yourself up for inconsistency. Willpower is a limited resource. It fades under pressure, disappears in stress, and fluctuates with your energy levels. Some mornings it will be strong, you'll feel motivated and focused. Other times it will vanish completely, leaving you vulnerable to distractions, excuses, and doubt. That's why success cannot be built on willpower alone. It needs something stronger, something more stable, a system. A solid, dependable routine acts like a structure that holds you up when everything else falls apart. Your routine is your safety net. It's what you fall back on when life gets overwhelming or unpredictable. You don't have to think, you don't have to debate, and you don't need to feel inspired. You just follow the system you've already designed. That's the beauty of routine. It turns decision making into automation. It eliminates the friction of choice. When you remove the option to negotiate with yourself, you eliminate inconsistency. What once felt like a battle becomes automatic, and what was once a struggle becomes your default. A strong routine pulls you forward even on your worst days. When your energy is low, when your mind is foggy, when your emotions try to derail you, your system steps in and takes over. It protects your progress by anchoring you to actions, not emotions. You may not feel like showing up, but you do. You may not feel like doing the work, but you still move. That kind of consistency is rare, and it's what separates high performers from the easily distracted. The system becomes stronger than your mood, and that's when momentum starts to build on its own. Building such a system takes time and intention. It doesn't happen by accident. You have to identify the key behaviors that move your life forward, the non-negotiables, and lock them into your day with structure and repetition. Morning routine, scheduled work blocks, recovery rituals, all of these are pieces of a system that carries you through both success and struggle. And the more you follow it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, your routine starts to shape your identity. You no longer need to convince yourself to act. It feels unnatural not to. So don't wait for willpower to show up. Don't depend on fleeting motivation to get things done. Design a system that supports your goals and hardwire it into your life. Let your routine become your quiet engine, reliable, steady, and always moving. Because the truth is, you won't always feel strong, but you can always follow a strong system. And when that system is in place, progress is no longer something you chase. It's something you step into every single day. Most people begin with excitement. They start with dreams that burn bright, goals that feel urgent, and a deep belief that they are ready to change everything. But excitement doesn't last. It fades. Challenges show up. Progress slows down. The early energy that once drove them begins to weaken, and that's when the quitting begins. They say it's not the right time, or it's too hard, or maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But the truth is, they didn't fail because they weren't capable. They failed because they didn't stay in the fight long enough for their efforts to pay off. There's a kind of success that isn't won through brilliance, speed, or strength. It's earned through sheer endurance. It belongs to the one who keeps going when the thrill is gone, when the path is unclear, and when progress seems invisible. It's easy to show up when things are working. It's easy to stay motivated when you're winning. But the true test is what you do when it feels like nothing is working. That's when most people disappear. But the ones who remain, the ones who stay in the fight, eventually find themselves standing alone where others gave up. Staying in the fight doesn't mean charging forward recklessly or ignoring exhaustion. It means refusing to retreat. It means adjusting your approach, learning from setbacks, and continuing to take steps forward even when they're small. Progress is not always loud. Sometimes it's slow, steady, and nearly silent. But those small steps, taken consistently, are what lead to breakthroughs. The longer you stay in the game, the more experience you gain, the more lessons you learn. And over time, those lessons compound into wisdom, skill, and quiet confidence that can't be shaken. Life will test your patience. It will throw delays, detours, and defeats in your path, not to destroy you, but to see if you're serious. Because most people quit when results don't show up fast enough. They think struggle means failure, when really, struggle is part of the qualifying process. Endurance filters out the uncommitted. Every time you stay in the fight, one more day, one more attempt, one more round, you prove to yourself and the world that you're not like the rest. You're not here to try. You're here to finish. Over time, your consistency becomes a weapon. Not because you always win, but because you refuse to surrender. People begin to notice that you're still standing when others aren't. Doors begin to open simply because you didn't go away. Opportunities come not because of luck, but because your name kept showing up when others disappeared. In a world full of quitters, staying becomes a form of power. Persistence becomes rare, and rare becomes valuable. Eventually, success finds its way to the one who simply refused to stop showing up. So if you're tired, if you're discouraged, if it feels like you're alone in your journey, remember this. Most people would have quit by now, but you haven't. You're still standing. You're still trying. You're still in the fight. And that alone puts you in a category few ever reach. Don't underestimate the power of staying, because success often doesn't go to the most talented, the most connected, or the most inspired. It goes to the last one standing, the one who just wouldn't give up. In a world obsessed with shortcuts and quick wins, the idea of doing the work every single day with no guarantee of immediate reward feels outdated to many. For the remainder of your life, the one truth that never changes. There is no secret formula that replaces effort, no inspirational quote, no overnight hack. For the remainder of your life, no once-in-a-lifetime opportunity will ever make up for the work that wasn't done. You can try to skip the process, but life has a way of circling you right back to the beginning until you learn that consistency, not speed, is what gets you across the finish line. For the remainder of your life, the ones who succeed long-term aren't the ones who found a secret shortcut. They're the ones who stopped looking for one. They embraced the truth that success is not a single moment, but a repeated decision to show up, to give effort, and to keep faith in the process, even when there's no applause. For the remainder of your life, most people quit because the results aren't instant. But the real winners are the ones who keep working when it seems like nothing is happening. They understand that success is not magic. It's math. It's effort multiplied by time. Doing the work daily isn't glamorous. It's often boring. It's repetitive. And sometimes it feels like you're going in circles. But the work is never wasted. Even on days when it feels like you're standing still, something inside you is changing, growing stronger, sharper, more resilient. Every task done in silence, every effort made without recognition is a deposit into your future. It's building a foundation so solid that when success finally arrives, it has something strong to stand on. Faith plays a critical role in this process. Not blind optimism for their life, but deep belief in the power of consistency. When you keep showing up, even when you don't feel like it, you're sending a message to yourself for the remainder of your life that you are worthy of the life you're building, that you trust the path, even if you can't see the results yet. And eventually, the external outcomes begin to reflect that inner commitment. The world starts to respond not to your potential, but to your persistence. When success finally arrives, for the remainder of life, it won't feel like a surprise. It will feel like a return, because it didn't happen by accident. It was summoned by your daily effort, your silent discipline, and your refusal to give up. It won't be temporary either. Because when you earn something through repetition, sacrifice, and consistency, you're not just ready for it, you've become the kind of person who can keep it. That's the reward of doing the work. Success won't just visit, it will stay